Hello, hello. We are back. We're getting all set up, and I just want to put a little spotlight on somebody special who's been here helping us out. I do a lot of this on my own, but whenever we really need her, and in the background, I always have this wonderful young lady called Camille. So, can you give Camille some love in the chat? Love in hearts, whatever. Thank you, Camille, for everything, all the support throughout the last 2 days. We can't do it without you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. All right, sweetie.
All right. I would like to now introduce our next speaker, which again, another international speaker. Today we have, or now we have Paul Boulton. Paul is an intuitive reader, therapist, mentor, author, and creator of targeted energy focused tapping. With 20 plus years experience helping adults and children worldwide reduce stress, heal from trauma, and navigate life challenges. He is known for his ability to uncover the origin of the stress related to a person's issues, blending intuitive practical insights to help his clients create lasting positive change. And his talk today is Helping Kids Rise and Shine, a new resource for parents to support kids with stress, anxiety, and bullying. Welcome, Paul. It is a pleasure to have you here today. I'm really looking forward to this one.
Hi, Christina. Hi, Herb. Hi, everybody. Pleasure to be here. It's 8 a.m. Friday in Australia, so you can proceed with your lives. It's safe to keep going.
Good.
So I know it's only Thursday where you guys are, but I'm very happy to be here.
And we got somebody from the future.
From the future.
Yeah. Time Lord. So welcome and lovely to be here. I've just been chuckling to myself, Christina and Herb, about why you'd put on such a summit, because it's the best way for Herb to get the therapy, treatment, advice, and everything else he needs pretty much for free. And also present such wonderful, wonderful speakers. And I've been tuning in for the last hour or so, and certainly inspired by Stephanie and Karen and everybody else I've listened to. So pleasure to be here.
Oh, thank you, Paul, so very, very much. And that means a lot, right? Because whenever we're reaching across the big world and finding people who have such a passion for kids and families and helping us all move forward. And it's amazing that, yes, it's happening everywhere, all the way around the world. Thank you again, Paul, for being one of those people who reached out and said, me, I want to come help. And so thank you so very, very much. So let's jump in here, right? Helping kids rise and shine. You're helping kids through the parents, right? What is the reason, the passion for bringing this information forward in your life?
So there's the book that I wrote about 5 years ago. I hope you can read that properly there. And but so for the last 20 or 25 years, I've been a professional psychic working out of my own 7-day shops in Brisbane, capital of Queensland, and also Sunshine Coast, where I've been based. What I found, without a doubt, across the timeframes is the biggest challenge for parents is realizing, and maybe they don't realize, that their own unaddressed issues, wounds, and challenges from their own childhood, growing up in a family with a whole pile of non-verbal just communication going on, Herb, as you got excited about just recently. That's the main language in the home. And the reason it is the main language in the home is because it's in my own example, which would probably be the best way to do this. My parents were born around 1930, so I've got a little bit up the road from most of you guys. But my father grew up in war-torn England, and so that majorly affected his view on survival, of course. And so for my mum, she grew through those years as well. But that impact doesn't end when they become adults. So whatever fears they accumulated in their childhood around survival is what still runs them till the day they dropped, especially if they didn't do any processing in the 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and pretty much right up until the last 20 years. The ability for an average working person to do any therapy work just really wasn't there. So I grew up in a very, very tense household. My dad's a Virgo police inspector. My mother's a lovely Gemini. And but at the end of the day, we grew up in a very rigid scenario. My brother and sister are both academically wonderful and have achieved well in their life. But I have a question for everybody who isn't an INFJ here, because I think we just about would have to be here. And the reason is just like with the lady just before, and was it Stanley just a minute ago? What Stanley spoke about was how a normal, sensitive child would feel in a tense environment, whether the rules and the laws and the beliefs that we acquired from our parents, and also their unaddressed wound, is embedded in us, and then we try and through our own perspectives try and make their fears, wounds, and beliefs work for us, and then socially in our lives. So the dilemma for all of us is we pick up that sort of pressure from being in the womb. So not only the parental dynamic and the sexual aspect of your parents as well, you'll feel all of that, and their own wounds around those topics. You'll feel all of that. And when I was talking to Christina before, which is where I'll go a bit later, a major impact on most people, and many will be unaware of it, is the sexual abuse they carry as people right now, that have either been picked up by experience, unfortunately, or by the unaddressed issues of their parents that have rattled down the genetic line and the ancestral line. So I probably better talk about that right now then. So what I consider to be society, from my view, works on two aspects, or pretty much in Australia, current statistics on sexual abuse in Australia. In girls, they say it's 1 in 3. In boys, they say it's 1 in 5. Now, to get that ratio or that statistic, they're using category 2 of the 4 categories I use. So I'll give you the 4 categories because, I've worked on over 1,000 people during the deeper adult processing that I do, which is what I'm going to explain, which is what's filtered down into the book. But the number one category that we all carry, from my view, you can debate this yourselves later, is feeling that males, for the most part, can be sleazy, dodgy, scummy, or inappropriate. Now, your mums will be very keen to tell the girls and the boys to be very careful around strangers. So I grew up with this view that the park down the road from my grandmother's place was full of strangers, and they were all predatory. So that's why I couldn't go to the park. Now, it had the best swings around for about 1,000 miles. And I thought that was really a bad thing, that these strangers were bloody hanging around that park. Now, to the child's mind, it's like, damn, that's impacting on my life. So category 1 is picking up that belief. Category 2 is when it becomes more physical, and that's inappropriate touch, handling, tickling, brushing by anybody that a person's been impacted by. Now, category 3 is guys flashing at them, at someone, and scaring them. And obviously, partners and boyfriends and husbands don't count. But the scheme of things, it's that fear of that. And these days, it includes dick pics. And then category 4 is any and every time you felt you haven't been appropriately, respectfully, sexually engaged with. So that's the 4 categories. So when I take my categories into that topic of sexual abuse ratios, it's actually 1-on-1, males and females. So that has a major distortion impact on a person's ability to be courageous, speak up for themselves, and then navigate situations, especially around adults and teenagers for that matter. The reality is most violators are known to the children. So they're opportunistic people, whether they're family, relatives, or neighbours, but someone who has access to the child and has a dodgy, that's an Australian term for inappropriate, interaction. So what that can do is put a permanent fear into the child. Oftentimes when they do get interfered with, it'll also come with the warning that that child better not say anything to anybody, especially your parents. And and over the decades, I've worked on thousands of people, as I've mentioned, and many of the women I've worked on got told that if you say anything, I'm going to I'll start touching your sister, or I'll start touching your mother. And you know, I won't go into the rest of those sort of details, but you can feel the impact on that on a child's mind who doesn't ever want their mum or their sisters to be impacted. So they'll just embody that fear, and then it totally impacts on that child's ability in adulthood to be a good open for communication, intimacy, and commitment. And so that creates this massive snowballing effect across society. So what we're looking at is which is why I look predominantly with my clients at is what was their family life like? Did they have two parents? Did they have one parent? Were they raised by their grandmother? Were they raised in a foster home or some other scenario? Because if you can imagine little those nice glass bowls you see goldfish in, if you take the goldfish and drop it into the different glass bowls across the top of the counter, it has to be impacted by the energy of the dynamic they're living in. Yeah. And so, you know, many of the ladies listening, and predominantly it's violations more in females, but it's not necessarily less of an impact on either person. But the reality is they've had to survive in that scenario. So once the child is back in the womb and they've picked up that the mother's got a real unaddressed childhood wounds or teenage wounds in relation to sexual expression, then that plays out in the relationship dynamic with their parents. They'll also then be picking up other tensions and stress and domineering factors of the parental relationship, and if that relationship breaks, then the incoming partners will bring their unaddressed wounds for the child then to try and integrate and function with. So
how then do we get the children to rise and shine after this? So this is a pretty heavy subject, and we're talking about parents. So how do we then help the children? How is this?
Yeah. Well, the best way is for the parent to get some work, because what I've found is if the parent gets some deep effective therapy, then the issues of those wounds go from this scary to manageable in themselves, and that puts less of a imprint on the child to be impacted by the unaddressed fears and wounds of their parents. So part one is parents need some work, because as they say, the fruit doesn't fall far from the tree. And probably another aspect I'd like to just bring in here is we don't actually own our children. And many parents struggle with that sort of concept. But what it means ultimately is we're guides, we're mentors, we're creators of safety, of good boundaries, of good values, in the hope that they will pick up the values that we present them. But what I found in my own family growing up was my dad was such a full-blown control freak. And me being from the earliest of years hypersensitive, an intuitive and an empath. So he'd be telling me something and I'd be reading the room, as you guys spoke of earlier, like Herb mentioned. And I'd be going, you lying so-and-so, you're not living your truth. You're not walking your talk, buddy. You're just monstering me into submission. And in the 60s when I grew up, because that's why I've got this gorgeous silvery hair, the reality was it'd be like, okay, so how do I survive this guy? What do I have to do to survive this family? Which is my primary goal, and literally the primary goal of all the children is how do they survive you guys and your own unaddressed wound. So with that in mind, once I developed into the targeted EFT, my own version of tapping, which is a therapy-based version of tapping. So I've written over 500 specific statements across the last 20 years that I can select from when I'm working on an adult to basically pick the locks of their survival-focused mind. So your survival-focused mind is probably, it's the term I use, but its agenda is your physical and your financial security. It really doesn't give a rat's whether you're in a relationship, loved properly in your life, or are ever actually heard and acknowledged as the beautiful being you are. So its agenda is just bloody well survive, lad. So get a job. And so when I grew up, the conveyor belt of the reality was I finished school in 1975. Many of you guys didn't even know that existed because you weren't born. But there was a conveyor belt that went along. The conveyor belt that went along in 1975 was heading this way, and it said, all you can do now is you can either go to college or you fall off the end of the conveyor belt, and then from there, it's up to you what you do with yourself and how you survive. So I looked at all the courses. Look, for a start, I hated school because similar to Stanley and what he just mentioned, I didn't like school. I mean, I didn't fit in with school. These guys didn't function emotionally in a way that, and even I was developing my way at that time, but I knew I didn't fit with most of these guys. I wasn't academic, but I was highly visual, highly an observer and a feeler and a watcher of reality. So by the time I finished school in 75 and soon after, I got a PhD in cynicism because I looked at the world and I went, this really sucks. Boy, does this world need some help. So I bundled around in a few different jobs, but I've been reading tarot since 1980. Back in the day, one of my mates, his mum, had the only tarot pack I'd ever even knew about. And so every Thursday afternoon, her and three of her girlfriends would get together for lunch, and then for the next 4 hours, they'd run tarot spreads. And they let me join that group of ladies, and they were all old ladies because they were in their 40s. And basically, I got my schooling in tarot there, but it sharpened my intuition. It sharpened my ability to find a person. So where all of this has led to, when I opened my first full-time shops about 25 years ago, and that was I got sacked from the job I was in. And the only thing I really wanted to do anyway, and following your passion is so important, I opened a shop in the middle of Brisbane City, street level, with a sandwich board out the front, not knowing if I was going to be able to pay the rent, even for the first week. And then I started to get clients, and then I originally learnt the emotional freedom techniques process, but it didn't work well enough for my clients. So I started writing my own statements. The original format was you'd hand across to the person 60 words on a page, and you'd be talking to one of my clients. I'll be talking to my clients and asking their survival focused mind to choose the words that was most impacting them at the moment. Well, this thing doesn't tell the truth. It's trying to survive. So it's going, I feel a bit hazy and I feel a bit, a bit sort of numb maybe at times. But apart from that, I'm fine. And I'd be sitting there going, you lying sod. You've got this going on. You've got this going on. You've got massive unaddressed parental issues. You've got mother issues going up the yin yang. And you've never been able to get past that. So then that's what started me writing the individual statements, and 500 of them are now in my bank. So back to
one of the things that you wanted to do though today, Paul, was actually take us through part of this process and show some of the benefits.
Exactly.
So now would be a great time to explain
Sure.
what it is a little bit more and go through that. Okay.
Okay. Yes. Thank you. So, so in the book, Helping Kids Rise and Shine, part 1 is the background story. Part 2 is the over 60 specific statements I've chosen for a person to select from to help the child in their home. So if a child comes home, they've felt mangled or sad, they've been bullied, or they've been scared, or they've been hit, or they've been embarrassed, then what it empowers the parent to do, because the tapping process is in there as well, is they can sit across from their child once they find out what's happened to the child. And I just want to rattle off the categories quickly for you. So the first category of the 10 categories is parents, siblings, and families. So the person could look at, okay, we've got an issue here. Or they could find the next one's upset and angry. Then there's rejection and abandonment. Then bullying and conflict, bullying and racism, bullying and LGBTQIA+. That's a big issue. Bullying and disability, bullying actions, and that's when the child's been doing the bullying. And after that is the sexual abuse and violation categories. Then the overwhelm and depression, because the goal of the mind ultimately is if it can get you into a depressed state, it's a lot easier for it to manage you and keep you scared, frustrated, tense, and afraid to speak up. So basically, and the last one are the completion statements. So my version of tapping varies from standard tapping, which would like to go straight to the positives. I want to go straight to the wounds. And so I would invite people to choose maybe 3 of the statements. So I've got a couple here to give you an example of, and then I'm going to ask you to tap through this with me, please. So just to give you an idea, in parental families and siblings, one statement is, even though I feel sad, unloved, unimportant when mum and dad are too busy working to spend time with me. The next one is, I feel sad and scared that dad does not live with us anymore, and I worry about him. So you can feel the impact that a little child or even a teenager is going to have if the parents have split up. They'll be worried about the child. So the one we're going to work on now is this one. So it's coming out of the category of bullying, disability category. So the way I want you to do this, please, you've just come home from school. You've had this happen, you felt really scared. And a lot of the children here that people are mentioning about have got various alphabetic categories going on and actual issues, of course. So when the parent sits with the child, they go across the table. So the child's there. And they go, I want you to please do this process with me. Would you like to do this? It'll make you feel better. And they go, yes, please. So then what we do is we're going to start with...
And we're inviting the audience, if you feel like it, to please come.
Yeah, please do this as well. Yeah, so this is interactive. So I want you to have a nice deep breath. You're the child. Okay, so in this moment, I'm going to say, okay, can you please say this with me? And they'll nod and they go, okay. Even though I feel, and then you wait. Yeah, beautiful. Thank you. Sad, stressed.
Sad, stressed.
Rejected and invisible.
Rejected and invisible.
When kids don't talk. When kids don't talk to me.
When kids don't talk to me.
Share or include me.
Share or include me.
I still deeply love and accept myself.
I still deeply love and accept myself.
So have a nice deep breath. We're going to do that again because we're anchoring the actual wound here. Just enough for this thing to grab it. Even though I feel.
Even though I feel.
Sad, stressed.
sad, stressed,
rejected and invisible.
rejected and invisible.
When kids don't talk to me,
When kids don't talk to me,
share and include me.
share and include me.
I love and accept myself.
I love and accept myself.
Okay, so then you say, okay, now can you just look me straight in the eyes, please, because we're going to tap this through. So I want you to start here and say this as well. So we go straight to the actual wound statement, which is the I feel. I feel sad,
sad,
stressed, rejected, and abandoned. I'm sorry, it's actually invisible, but I would be feeling abandoned. Invisible. When kids, this is under your arm, don't talk to me.
Don't talk to me.
Share
Share
and include me.
And include me.
So then we go to the back of the hand there and we just tap here. I feel sad, stressed,
I feel sad, stressed,
rejected and invisible.
rejected and invisible.
When kids don't talk to me,
When kids don't talk to me,
share and include me.
share and include me.
Good. So then we drop the hands and we say to the child, okay, now can you please look me straight in the eyes? And now can you close your eyes and open your eyes? And now without moving your head, just your eyes, I want you to keep your head still, but pull your eyes down to your left knee and then look me straight in the eyes. Then pull your eyes down to your right knee, then look me straight in the eyes. Then without, the next thing you ask them to do is follow around the circle because we need eye rotation, but the head has to stay still. So I just create a little circle here and you get them to follow the fingers around the circle, keep breathing and follow them back. And then when we get to there, they've done that bit. And then you say, okay, the next thing I want you to do, please, is hum the start of Happy Birthday with me. Just that bit. Okay, so once they've done that, then you ask them to count to 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then you ask them to hum again. And then you ask them to breathe. And then we're going back to the original wound statement. I feel sad, stressed, rejected, and invisible. When kids don't talk to me, share and include me. Good. So that's the end of the first one. Then you ask them to breathe deep. So that's just an example of the 50 different prepared statements are in the book. So then you go, okay, now what's your next biggest issue? Or you already know it. So it might be that they got bullied. So you go to the bullying page and then find the one that also may be applicable to them. And then you tap them through in the same process. You may even choose another one about any other category that's a live hot topic. You just want to work on the hot topics. Normally speaking with a child, you only need to do 3 statements because their attention span is about 15 minutes and you go to 16 and they're already out the room. So then you'd start to do the completion statements. So the completion statements are, and they're just done here. I know. Today is a good day.
Today is a good day.
For me to start again.
For me to start again.
Then you ask them to have a nice deep breath. And you go, okay, we're going to do another one. I feel okay.
I feel okay.
With who I am.
With who I am.
And how I am now.
And how I am now.
Okay, there's 9 completion statements, so you can select as many as you need there. But basically, hopefully, even in that quick demo, you might be noticing that it twanged an issue in your past, a belief system you had somewhere in your childhood or recent times. And then basically it takes the topics from that to manageable. So when you work across that with a child, and you can do this a couple of times a week or weekly as a maintenance scenario. so that you can just quickly get to the point of going, okay, we can deal with this now, because most people can't afford to take them to a child psychologist and stuff like that. The goal of the book is to empower parents so that they've got a resource they can use on their own children, on children in their care. And so it's designed this way for parents, teachers, and caring adults to use.
And as they're doing it on their children, they're doing it, so it's working on them as well.
Exactly. Well spotted there, Herb. So the important thing about this is courage lives in the heart, and every one of these statements starts to strengthen the heart and quieten the defensive survival-focused mind, so that you're anchoring the child's identity and their personality and their mind and their heart into a combination that helps create a much more grounded, focused, functional child.
Beautiful. Thank you, Paul. Wow. Yeah, I'm hoping that this really connected with some people, and giving parents hope that, like you said, by doing that work on themselves, they're also helping their child. And when a child comes home completely upset like that around bullying or something, there's something that can be done, right? So it doesn't stick with them.
Absolutely. And when the parent gets the book, they can read through those 50 statements and go, oh God, this one still rattles me, and that was 45 years ago. And then they can just tap that through on themselves. You can sit across from a mirror and just, take yourself through the process. And what that does is, children are so intuitive, they'll learn way faster than us old things. And then that'll improve our communication with them. It'll build trust with the child that mum and dad have got a skill here that can help me. And this has been done in schools in Australia with a PhD person. And they found that kids would actually come into the classroom when the teachers were using a similar process, and they would go, "Can we start with tapping, please?" Yeah. And so they would start with the tapping. Every one of those children would be in the room and ready to learn, study, and be in a much happier place. So it builds the compassion, it builds the strength and identity, courage in speaking up, and helps create more functional, beautiful children. Of course,
thank you, Paul, very much. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Can you talk about your free gift that you have for our audience, and then our VIP?
Okay. Yes. Thank you. So, part of the day-to-day thing that a person can use is a detachment statement. So the free gift is a little booklet that I've put together about how to defuse some of the big issues in your own life. So if you're having an issue with your own parents, mum, dad, sister, whoever, so you just add their names into the list: mum, dad, Sally, Brian, and then the boss at work or my co-workers and whatever. And then you just put in the statement reads this: I fully and freely forgive and release mum, dad, Brian, the boss, and let them go to their own and best happiness. And mum, dad, Brian, and the boss fully and freely forgives and releases me and lets me go to my own and best happiness. So basically the energy cords coming from your solar plexus area to that story that keeps you anxious basically disconnect and seal up in your own system, so you become less reactive. Your mind becomes less reactive to old triggering wounds from the past.
Awesome. And did you also have a VIP gift for our people who choose to purchase?
Well, yes, we didn't have it registered, but we are registering it because I just spoke to my partner. It'll be later today. But if you go to the helpingkidsriseandshine.com website, which you see on the thing here, there'll be a VIP offer where we're going to give you the PDF of our book, so Beautiful. That you basically have that in your own home. You can work on that from sometime on the weekend, because she's gone to work now and she does the tech stuff, but it'll be available very soon.
Perfect. Thank you so very much, Paul. Thank you so much for being here today, for sharing your wisdom and this technique that can help families move forward in their lives and really making sure we're releasing some of that trauma. So like we said, we don't have kids growing up and having to go through a whole bunch of therapy too. So thank you so very, very much for being here today.
Yeah, thank
My
you for
pleasure.
being here. One of the problems that I had with EFT is when I was doing it, I couldn't think of stuff to say.
Okay.
So having 500 statements prepared would be very helpful for a lot of people. So thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very, very much. All right. We're going to stop this recording right here, but don't go away, everybody. Hold on for just a minute.